Welcome back to Finding Flow, the podcast where we explore the journeys of founders, leaders, and investors building remarkable lives and careers. I'm your host, Carl McDonald, and today I'm joined by a guest whose leadership journey in retail and e-commerce spans across Europe, shaping how brands operate, connect with customers, and lead high-performance teams. Maximilian Quint is a seasoned retail and e-commerce executive, known for his work at HUGO BOSS, where he led retail operations and e-commerce strategy across Western Europe. With a track record of driving omni-channel growth, elevating customer experience, and empowering teams with a people-first mindset, Maximilian brings a refreshing sense of balance, humility, and strategic clarity to leadership. Maximilian, welcome to Finding Flow. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much, Kari, for inviting me and having me. It's a joy and honor to be here today, and thanks for those kind introduction. You need to send me that pitch again because I will use it. It was fantastic. So thank you very much. I couldn't have done it better.
Absolutely, it's so well deserved, and it's really great to have you. I suppose to kick things off, let's go back a bit. Can you tell us a bit about your early career? So, what drew you into the world of retail and leadership in the first place?
Well, thank you very much for the question. I guess I will start quite early on. So it has nothing to do with retail as such, but it still has in a sense. I started playing football first, of course, in the youth, and later on, sort of as a first job, semi-professional. And the reason why I'm saying it is that, of course, there are a lot of similarities of football and retail, and I guess the reason why I went into retail, and as a sort of natural step afterwards, because Saturday is the big game, and Saturday is the big day in retail. You come in, you get changed in the dressing room in retail and in football. The store manager holds a speech before everyone goes on the shop floor, as the coach holds a speech before the footballer goes on the shop floor. While you're on the shop floor, you need to move carefully. You need to look your colleagues. If one colleague is moving the position, you maybe need to cover the space a bit in order to not lose any customers. And it's similar in football. If the left defender moves to the front, the central midfielder needs to move a bit to the left to cover the space. So there were, and I realized that afterwards that there are a lot of similarities between football and retail, what I just described. But of course, and that's football and business in general. There are, I think, similarities on topics what we can transfer from football to retail, and that part also shaped me in a sense, I guess, in terms of tenacity, in terms of discipline, self-motivation, but most likely also team environments and my strong belief in a collective performance and collective success. I then moved later on into the world of retail, where I had the chance to start on the ground, on the shop floor, still when I was a student back in the days. And it was sort of my first start into retail, really because the pockets were empty. I needed some money. I went really old school with some CVs printed out. I walked through Berlin, where I grew up, and dropped them into the shop floor and asked if they have a job. And luckily, HUGO BOSS called at that time already. So it was for the HUGO brand, the more sort of younger contemporary brand of HUGO BOSS, is where I started my sort of retail career, and worked there for sort of 4 years on the shop floor. And it was, as of today, a very important step of my career, because in retail it's not a pure academic discipline. There's of course a sort of an academic part to it, but it's after all very hands-on, and you need to understand and have done the steps sort of yourself to understand impacts of it, because some decision might also seem trivial if you actions you have to take in retail for success from an academic perspective, but they are super important to drive business. So to understand that behind and have done all the operations yourself, but as well being able to speak the language of the people in store, but as well, having felt maybe the pain in your legs yourself, in order also to have the right empathy for for everyone in store. So this is sort of the start I had in retail, and very formative years on the shop floor. And as of today, I always went back a couple of times. A couple of times in the year, and for physical activity, being physical in stores for several days in order to keep having that flow. You could talk about finding flow. So
Yeah.
it's always important to always go back to the ground where business is made to find the flow for maybe also more strategic the decisions, I believe. Yeah? And later on, had the chance to work at HUGO BOSS in the headquarter for omni-channel projects as project leads, and then as a project lead, and then was offered a chance to come to Paris to lead the retail operations and e-commerce department, which was a great opportunity professionally, but also personally, to move to
Yeah.
Paris. That's sort of in a nutshell my part where I started. Yeah, but yeah, really transformative. I would say the first, the football part, but also the physical retail part for later on, and that also spans over to e-commerce. It's of course it's digital, yet the idea of what you have to do, it's not different. You need to sell it to a customer, so there's a customer journey and flow behind. And rather than the customer doing steps, the customer does clicks. Nevertheless, the customer has to find a product quite fast, very easy. So there's always similarities behind it, and certain steps you do in e-commerce, they are quite similar. The only difference is there is an algorithm and technical part behind, but in retail there are physical hands behind. But you need to move the merchandise, you need to make it visible. So a lot of similarities. So also for the e-commerce part, the physical retail part helped me, and also back, and then vice versa.
Yeah, I love that comparison of football and retail. I never thought of it like that, but it's actually so true. Um, yeah, I mean, and such a solid foundation to really be able to, I suppose, relate to the people on the ground, to kind of keep being exposed to that. I think it's really fantastic.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's really it. I mean, you know, it's getting the connection, having the creating really empathy, and not just trying to have it, really having it because you've done it yourself,
yeah.
creating it. That's important, and is speaking the same language. Yeah.
Yeah. And something that really stood out to me, which you touched on now a bit, so I'd like to dive a little bit deeper, is your emphasis on hands-on leadership. So not just leading from above, but staying close to the operational trenches. So could you share a little bit more about why that's so important to you?
It's about yeah. I mean, it's about sort of leading with example,
Mm,
of course, and it's just so simply that when and it's the same with when you are a parent in the
mm,
sense, saying something to your child doesn't maybe do a lot, but if you have shown it yourself how it works, or if you at least be able to participate, the child listens better. And now
mm.
there's no comparison to a child and an employee. An employee is an
Yeah.
adult person, of course, but in a sense, it's quite similar that once you have done something yourself, or at least being able to show that you have a severe interest in really understanding it and trying to support,
Mm,
and the person feels more supported, and I guess feels feels that you are behind their back, and you are really interested in what they're doing. So that's for me, in a sense, hands-on leadership. And of course, it goes further to the part that I do believe in leadership. That you need to be a good delegator. That's very
mm,
important, and you need to give people the freedom that they do their job and don't take over. Yet, in a sense, when times are needed and times are different, and there are economic uncertainties and fluctuations, you've got to put your sleeves up and also
mm,
help out yourself. And again, it's about showing the right example, because that can goes a long way, especially in more difficult business times. So that everyone sticks together, and there's a certain team environment. And I come back to what I mentioned before, that team part also from football.
mm,
I guess this is also where it's a bit the parallel again and coming from. You got to stick together as a team, and everyone need to help each other out despite a role. Yeah.
For sure. Very good. And you've led teams across countries, cultures, and functions. What would you say are some of your core principles when it comes to building and sustaining high-performing teams?
The core topic is that people have a common goal and work together,
Mhm.
despite borders, so despite people not being in the same office. So if you talk also about remote leadership, you've got to make sure that maybe people have their individual targets, but that there's always uh, targets, projects where the teams naturally have to work together, they have to interact, and they are able to either share the same frustration sometimes, yeah, they can also be negative, but as well, and hopefully that's more likely, having success together, and that creates teams in the end of the day, yeah. And then of course it's making sure as a leader also that they feel valued, and making sure that you give the platform for everyone also to interact, to have fun together. That's of course that's important. Things off the job, but the main topic is for me, high performing teams need to feel a sense of being able to work together. It's the team part again, the collective part. Yeah. Then on the
Yeah.
side of it, on the individual level, what is extremely important is that there are very clear targets given, but targets in a sense that it's not 100% defined. I do believe that as a leader, you need to give a frame, and
Mhm.
within this frame, you need to give freedom to people to find their own ways, to show their creativity, and to take on ownership themselves. And then when they take on the ownership, they also have to be celebrated for their success. And it's not my success as a leader; it's their success. And then that creates again, in my understanding, in my experience, high performing teams.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I like how you give like sort of broader targets, but you give flexibility to get it done the way that they want to get it done, because I suppose all people are different and they have their own strengths and weaknesses. Then I suppose this approach is like the opposite of micromanagement. It's giving them space to achieve the goals, you know?
Yeah, it is,
So
yeah. Of course, still with a sense of leadership
yeah.
and coaching, and is what I meant with a frame. I mean, of course, there's not
Mm,
full openness, so there's
mm,
a there's some sort of frames and targets around it, but
yeah.
within that, yeah, go for it, and I'm there to support. So yes, it's a sort of I guess it's sort of democratic style of leadership.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, absolutely. And in the end, you need to give people a room to perform.
Mm, mm,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's important. Yeah, and that creates motivation, ownership. Ownership creates motivation, and that creates performance. Yeah.
Very good. I love how you spoke about blending strategy with tactical execution. So where do you draw the line between being visionary and being operational? How I suppose like how do you stay in flow between those two modes?
In a sense, I mean, there's a time for everything. So there is a certain time throughout the year
Hmm.
where me as a leader, I'm working more strategic.
Hmm.
If it's about a business plan for a certain time of the X years, that's in every company different. How long the planning is in the future, or only the next year. But you need to put as yourself as a leader aside, and also leave the tactical, very operational part behind for some moments. Don't dig into it. You really put yourself away and take the time to think and to speak with other peers, colleagues, people above you, people maybe, of course, also under you in maybe the organization, or outside the or company or industry. Read and work strategic. That's super important, because that strategic element moves on the path for the next coming years. But I guess what's important to me, once the strategic part is done, then you really have to then dig into the operation, into the execution, and don't move back. So then really laser eye focus and go for the execution part. And then that word, what I mentioned before, the tenacity comes in, because there will be some bumps along the way, and you've got to move on. You've got to stick to it, and work together with the team on the operation execution, because no strategy without crystal clear execution is worth nothing. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah,
But working only on operation and not on strategy, that doesn't bring you further to the future. So I guess in a sense, what I mentioned before is, to me, it's putting yourself away or putting yourself into operation or away from operation in sort of defined times throughout the year. That was always key to me, and at least on my level, I suppose, if you go higher on the CEO level, of course, then the ratio is more towards the strategy, and
yeah,
but sort of on my level, I guess it's both, but it's really about finding the time. And you talk about finding flow, and that's what I meant is putting time aside, because you only find flow if you can really focus on something, either the
sure,
strategy or the execution. Yeah. So for
for
me,
sure.
that was always it. So yeah,
Okay, great,
if
great.
that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant answer. And I suppose I also wanted to talk, so beyond work. You've spoken about balance, so especially now with family life and fatherhood. How do you personally stay grounded while pursuing big goals?
I guess so. I have two little daughters. One is
Mm.
6 weeks old, so fairly newborn, and the
Yeah,
other one is 3 years old. Naturally, they keep me on the ground.
yeah,
With,
yeah,
you have kids yourself, you know it. So
definitely, yeah,
there is no chance I'm not on the ground. With the daddy task you have to do, from playing
yeah,
to them, brushing their hair, or whatever
mm,
it's needed, and I love to do. But so family in general is a big part for me. I mean, my own kids, my wife, but as well, of course, my parents, my sisters.
mm,
So staying close to my family, and taking the time for them is always very important for me, to stay on the ground, staying humbled. Friends, of course, it's very important. That means new friends, but I am also I made along the way. But it's also I'm fortunate enough that I still have very old friends from my own from my childhood, all
mm,
with different path, and
mhm,
going also, having your friends and also keeping some of your old friends, I think, is also a way to balance and keep you on the ground, and keep you also humble, I suppose. And other than that, for me, the balance, it's other than family and friends, it's for me, it's very important, simple things of eat well, sleep well, and exercise
mm,
well. These three topics I really exercise. So sport is a fundamental part for
yeah,
me. Meditation is a fundamental part for me. What I practice regularly.
mm,
And other than that, yeah, it's I really look out for me in a sense of mentioned what I eat, and that I get good sleep, and that's it sounds quite trivial, but it's so true. I mean, even
mm,
and that's easy being done in times when you have time. It's more difficult being done in times when it's a bit more hectic and stressful. But then it's really important to keep do that, to look after
yeah,
yourself, because it's important. You mentioned the word balance, and it's important, especially nowadays, to be a balanced leader,
mm,
as this is also what I think employees, especially also the young employees, feed off. And it's
yeah,
important for yourself, for your own sanity, of course, but as well, I think, for the whole spirit of the team, and because there are difficult, stressful times, and you will manage them. But and that's also for. I mean, I look out for myself, but the word balance, it's important as well for
mm,
my team, that I want to make sure that I of course can't tell them to do that, but it's important for me that they have the chance also to keep balanced. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think like especially when things are hectic and when things are stressful, that's the time when you really need that balance. Like because it kind of gives you fuel to be better at your work. And to make better decisions, like with the meditation, the exercise, the eating, it all really adds up. It makes you perform better at your work at the end of the day. So sometimes it's tempting when you're very, very busy to kind of drop that a bit, but that's actually when you really need it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And therefore, you that's when you need it. So you've got to practice it regularly in order to pull it when you need it. Yeah. So yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So for me, that's very important. And I guess another pillar, which is how I try to live my life and how I, in a sense, also lead. For me, it's very important. Is humor. I
Mm,
truly
okay.
believe in humor as a powerful tool to interact with each other, to lead, is a powerful tool to overcome conflicts, and
Hmm.
it's a powerful tool to overcome very stressful, hectic times, as it's things can tide up and stress can erase, and humor also practicing this as a leader with your team allows, I think, to maybe drop a joke and people
Mm,
laugh, hopefully,
yeah.
if it was a good one.
Yeah.
And with laughing is positive energy, and that's
Mm,
a positive energy to create. This is important, I think, alongside with balance, and that can goes a long way, and I think can make the difference and can also make teams going an extra mile. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I really like that. I also wanted to talk about, so if you look back at your journey so far, all of the different challenges, pivots, and milestones, what would you say has been one of the biggest mindset shifts, or personal growth moments for you?
I guess it was the start of becoming a manager or a leader.
Yeah.
To me, that was one of the, I guess, biggest shifts, biggest moments, because a lot changes, but also the realization of being a good leader has to do a lot with being a good human,
Mm,
I think. And you
mm,
can go a long way with practicing, regular senses of sort of respectful behavior, being a good human, and easy things as remembering a birthday, trying to support,
mm,
listen, and what I mean with that, really listen, not listen to answer, but listen to understand. It's very important, and that was sort of remarkable for me to realize that I think companies can give trust into people to lead without them having before also leadership experience, if it's the right personality and
mm,
fit to become a leader. And yeah, that I guess, but of course it goes a long way. And then also becoming a leader was for me um, the understanding, and that again, it's the sort of the comparison to having kids. When you become a leader, for me, it was my experience. I stopped about thinking about myself. It was only
mm,
about thinking about the team and the team development. But it's important to also keep thinking about your own development. But in a sense, it was does it what it does to you. It's putting yourself, your own behind, and putting it into the team, into the development of the team, of the spirit. And again, this is the same analogy to of having kids. I mean, it's about them then, and
mm,
not about you as a person.
mm,
And sort of that was, yeah, the leadership part, I guess, was a pivotal moment in my sort of personal development, and I love every bit of it. I love to be a leader. I love people. I love to work with people, and I love to see them develop. It gives me a great pride and joy. Yeah.
yeah, perfect. And yeah, Maximilian, just want to thank you so much for being on this episode. It's been such a rich conversation, full of value. I think it's going to be very valuable to everyone listening. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. It was a pleasure being here on your podcast, talking to you, and thank you very much. Yeah? Appreciate it.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.